Hello, and Happy New Year! Welcome to Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy, Bloopers and Best of 2022. In the past year, Nick and Roy were able to stumble their way through another year of totally useless information. They couldn't do it alone. Did you really think they were capable of such a huge task? Nope. They relied on fantastic guests and, of course, all of the loyal listeners who tuned in week after week. I know that both Nick and Roy really appreciated it very much. In this episode, we will take a listen back to some of the bloopers and highlights from 2022. Let's get started. During the recording of Nick and Roy's Christmas special, Nick introduced a list of songs that didn't quite make the top Christmas song list. Who couldn't resist Dominic the Christmas Monkey?
But the Italians,
Buon Natale.
Buon Natale, they talk about Dominic the Christmas Monkey. Sorry, no.
No,
the
donkey.
Sorry, yeah, hold on, three. It was a different song. Yeah. Okay.
Oh boy. Speaking of donkeys, what about a helping of mule's balls? At least that's how Nick explained it.
How about Coglioni di Mulo?
Mm-hmm.
Coglioni
Yep, I've
di
had
Mulo.
that disease.
No, it's not a disease.
She swore, Nick.
No. Listen, Coglioni di Mulo means mule balls.
Oh, Cogliones. Cogliones is
Coglione.
Italian for testicles.
Yes, and these are Coglioni di Mulo, which are mule balls. In reality,
Right, the mulo.
But for those of you animal activists, Peter, put down the phone. The poor mule has nothing to do with it. Mule's balls are simply pork salami. Okay, so the mule was spared, but not the pigs. Okay, so
Right, exactly.
Right.
Is it the pig's balls or it's just the pork?
Well, it's the mule's balls are simple pork salami with a how do we put this? A particular shape, and it encases a small cube of lard known as the jewel.
Yep, the jewel. See, when you put that's disgusting. You got to be a real pig when you pork someone up to the balls.
Right. Maybe that's why they call it. Maybe that's why they call it the family jewels.
Yeah.
It is
What's
why.
this called? A morte pig balls?
No, Coglione di Mulo, and has nothing to right. It's white. It is widespread in the mountain ranges of Umbria, Le Marche, Lazio, and Abruzzo in Italy. Coglione di Mulo.
And say that 6 times, folks.
How about one time? There you go. So a cube of lard, which is how we're often referred to, Nick and Roy. These are mule's balls, are simply pork salami shaped in balls.
One of the many topics that Nick and Roy covered was the ever-popular sex topic. Roy couldn't pronounce the name of the state when it comes to the place where outdoor sex is really a turn-on.
Picture this if you can, Nick.
Maybe.
I mean, really, picture this.
Okay.
Cowboy hats, assless chaps, mud, and hay stuck to your nether regions.
Sounds like a Saturday night.
Sounds like a day at the farm. Well, that would best describe the citizens of the state of Wyoming, who has the major distinction of being the state that has the most sex outdoors.
What state is this?
The state of Wyoming, hands down.
Isn't it Wyoming?
Wyoming.
Wyoming.
I
think it's Wyoming. That's why.
Are you asking? I always thought it was Wyoming.
No, Wyoming. WYOMING.
Sounds like a guy with an accent. You know what I mean?
So it's Wyoming.
Whatever.
See?
So when I go to say it, you say it. In the state of
Wyoming.
Perfect. That's nickandroy.com, voiceovers by Nick.
Yes. Wyoming. Okay. That's all I know how to say. Wyoming.
Okay. They are hands down the state. I mean, they win it by like 150%. They have sex outdoors an awful lot in that state, which I will not name.
It's the Wyoming.
There you go. That's Wyoming right now. We're outside. I got mud all over my ass.
Exactly.
Speaking of states, Nick offered a list of different sayings from different states.
You know what? You can butter my butt and call me a biscuit. So that was my teaser. Butter my butt and call me a biscuit means expressing delight or surprise, like I just surprised you, I think.
Mm-hmm. Sure you did.
So these are some slang terms from American states. So we're going to start with Alabama, where if you say a ways, they're gone a ways, is a distance anywhere between 10 minutes and 2 hours in terms of travel time. So if you're traveling a ways, you have to have traveled at least 10 minutes and up to 2 hours a ways. As I said, butter my butt and call me a biscuit also means to express delight, and a shopping cart in Alabama could be called a buggy. Shucky darn, which if you're from Kentucky, that means wow. Okay. Now,
Shucky darn.
if someone well, shucky darn, butter my biscuit and call me a butt.
When I sent Nick the pictures of me in the underwear, he was like, "Shucky darn."
That's right, exactly. Yeah, and then I said, butter my button anyway. So that's nice. If someone says, "Oh, that's nice," it's very similar to what you were talking about. So if someone from Kentucky says, "Oh, that's nice," it really means they just don't give a damn.
Yeah.
And also, a chicken is not a chicken in Kentucky. It's a yard bird.
A chicken is not a chicken; it's a yard bird.
It's a yard bird. So that's why maybe they had to change it. So it's Kentucky Fried Yard Birds. Yeah.
Yeah.
Idaho has a condiment, speaking of condiments, which was a mixture of ketchup and mayonnaise called fry sauce.
Ooh, that sounds good.
A glove compartment of a car in Idaho is called a jockey box.
Chucky box.
Yep.
In Idaho.
And those cute, furry, burrowing animals we know as prairie dogs in Idaho are called whistle pigs.
Nick said to me, "What do you call a glove box in Idaho?" I said, "Idaho, Alaska." Alaska.
That's right.
Idaho, Alaska.
What did Tennessee? I don't know.
One of the many talents that Nick and Roy possess is the ability to interview interesting people. Check out this segment as they spoke to the king of Oktoberfest, George, the victim of the great Lederhosen Heist.
This story comes to us from Toronto, Ontario. The case of the Lederhosen Heist. Someone broke into our next guest's home and stole his Lederhosen.
We searched and found the actual person who is the victim of this heinous crime. Nick, continue.
So to protect his identity, we're going to just, change his name. We'll call him George. George, welcome to Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy.
I am so glad that you found me, and now I'm finding you, so it's wonderful.
This is good. We need to talk about this, and so that we can protect George, even though we're not on video, we've put a bag over George's head.
I took it off. Oh, that's fine. I'm glad.
Yeah. It's not to protect your identity. That's how we treat our guests.
But we searched out and we found George, the Lederhosen Heist.
So, George, tell us in your own words, and if you need a moment to grab a tissue or something, let us know. But tell us in your own words what happened to you just a few days ago in your home.
I woke up. I wanted to go to the car. I go to the back steps. All of a sudden, I see my boots are all over the place, and my jacket is not hanging up on the hook. I see another jacket that doesn't belong to me. I shake it. A wallet falls out.
Oh.
Whose wallet is this? I don't know. I go downstairs thinking I left my jacket by the laundry. No, I feel a draft. There's a window that's open in my basement.
George, did you have pants on when you felt the draft?
Yeah, I had my pants on because I was in my PJs.
Just checking.
Yeah. And so I look where the draft's coming from. I have a bookcase, and on top of the bookcase, I had my Lederhosen and my Lederhosen type shirts, but they're not there.
So let me ask you, George, can I call you George?
Yeah, by all means.
Okay.
Yeah, so let's call him George.
George. So, George, again, we've protected his identity so nobody knows. He's actually outside the suburb of Toronto, but we won't identify where he is. So, George, if I may, why do you have Lederhosen in your house?
Because for many, many years, I've been self-proclaimed as the king of Oktoberfest.
So you realize that your Lederhosen has been...
The man stole his Lederhosen.
Yes, but may I interject here?
Yes.
It wasn't the short ones. These were the long ones.
that's
So
it.
you had the full leather pants.
Oh, yeah.
They stole a Lederhosen. What other items did he steal?
They stole socks that went with them. They stole the shirts that went with them. They also stole, are you ready for this? At my back door, my winter toque and a pair of leather gloves.
So these people were out for ethnic clothing. I'd say this falls under a hate crime.
Yes. So wait a minute. So he took your woolen, your toque, your long leather lederhosen to keep warm, but left his jacket with his wallet in?
Oh, no, not only did he leave his jacket, he also left his jeans. And he also left a pair of Doc Marten boots.
Right.
And that's why I think he stole my Lederhosen, because he lost his jeans. I think he had to go wee-wee or something, or maybe he should have did the poop business. I don't know, but he took my leather pants.
Okay.
So this guy literally used your house as a changing room.
Yes.
Okay.
I was sleeping.
No, this is wrong.
It was in the morning. I was asleep in my bed. I guess what? Another bing bing on my doorbell.
It's him again?
It's him again.
No.
What do you want? What do you want? Like your
No.
China or something?
Hang on a second. Here's the best part. He said, hello, excuse me, but I'm the guy that was in your house, says he.
So he confessed.
Yeah. And the best part is he has a big bag with him. And guess what's in the bag?
Your Lederhosen.
My Lederhosen.
When we come back, Nick and Roy find out if it is best to sit or to squat. The answer may save your life. You're listening to Nick and Roy's bloopers and best of totally useless information for 2022. Welcome back to Nick and Roy's bloopers and best of totally useless information of 2022. Registered nutritionist Leanne Phillipson returned to Nick and Roy's studio. She is much better at offering valuable advice about what you eat than acknowledging how long Nick and Roy have been providing totally useless information.
Yay! Congratulations, guys. Holy smokes, season 3. Woohoo!
Season 7.
Oh, sorry, season 7. I didn't
Yeah,
even
well,
hear that.
ready, 3, 2, 1, dude.
It's season 3 Canadian, season 7 US, Leanne.
Okay, fine.
Once they got that part of the show out of the way, Leanne shared her food secrets.
Something that I came across at my local market. So I go to a local market every single week and I buy all my beautiful greens and everything that's in season, talk to the local farmers. And then there was this one vendor and he has freeze-dried everything. Strawberries, apples, watermelon, and really like freeze-dried foods were developed so that they could seriously go to the moon and reduce the weight of the food that they're taking with them, right? So you take out the water and the oxygen that's normally found. And this was like a 1960s, I think this was. They started with ice cream. And we got sucked in. My daughter wanted to try it. So we picked him up and tried it. And I was like, ugh, when you can't get something out of your mouth fast enough, you're like, pah, 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 pah.
Yeah.
It was such a bizarre taste. But they've also turned baby snacks into this freeze-dried stuff. So when it kind of hits your tongue, then it starts to like disintegrate and just gives you some sort of flavor. It's a
I was
really
actually talking
bizarre
to somebody about the freeze-dried stuff, and they said the problem with it is they put sulfur on it. And you have to get freeze-dried stuff that has no sulfur. It has to be completely naturally freeze-dried, because if it has sulfur, it's really bad for you.
Well, it's the same thing with like dried apricots. When you go buy dried apricots and they're orange, they've been sulfured, because really when they dry, they should be brown. So that's like a Turkish apricot. People who have asthma and sort of breathing conditions, they sometimes really get triggered by something like what you're
They
talking
turn
about.
orange. I believe that's what Donald Trump used to put in his hair.
So how long does the process take to freeze dry, let's say, a bunch of strawberries? Like, is there...
I didn't even ask.
I have a
Try this. I said,
dehydrator.
okay.
I have a dehydrator.
That's different.
Yes. Yeah,
That's
it is.
different. A
Right.
dehydrator is awesome, rock star. You're gonna, slowly at a really low temperature.
But you know how long it takes
dry
to
your
do
food.
like
days.
Raisins and bananas, you just keep leaving them there just like forever. You can make jerky quick, but like a few
Right.
hours, maybe 4 hours or so. But bananas took like almost a whole day, and they were all right. They weren't great.
Yeah.
So.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's fun to try these things out with food, but yeah, you got to know that you're not.
Yeah, it's fun sitting there and watching, just like watching paint dry. It's like watching the fruit dehydrate in front of your very eyes.
I was hungry when I started, but then
Yeah,
I ate like
exactly.
3 meals in between. So
That's right. Exactly.
Really, the majority of my diet is quite healthy, but I do love, like, probably my biggest vice is crisps. And I say crisps because I like British crisps better than I do North American chips. Because they just don't, I don't know, they just taste different. And I lived in England for a while and they know how to do their crisps.
Oh, see, so now she said the word crisps. So here's a question I have for you. What type of oil? Because I only use avocado oil, which is super expensive, but there is avocado oil. Go ahead. What type of oil do you like to use?
So extra virgin olive oil, organic. I always use that in any salad dressing, drizzling, anything like that, or just to dip some beautiful bread and vinegar with herbs and spices in.
She makes it sound sexy.
I know.
Yeah.
So
Drizzled
yummy.
that olive oil all over me. Yeah, okay.
It's like
sure.
first I take a naked piece of bread and I drizzle it with olive oil. I bathe it in it and run it through it.
Roy will turn anything into a naughty duck conversation. Like.
I'm
What do
going
you
to finish
find?
their oil thing. What I fry in? Well, first of all, I don't really fry, but if I use the frying pan or anything like that, it's always coconut oil or grass-fed butter. Like I've got
like
a
ghee.
thing about mushrooms right now. I learned how much it supports your microbiome, which are your good bugs in your belly. And every week at this market, not the dehydrated or the freeze-dried guy, I go over to the mushroom guy now instead. I buy like 4 or 5.
He's the guy wearing the tie-dye t-shirt.
Yeah, different kinds of mushrooms, and I
He's
fry
like,
them.
hey, Leanne, what's happening?
Yeah,
Buy
yeah.
some mushrooms?
Go on.
Yeah, and then I fry them all up in butter.
You can catch Leanne's podcast, Eat This with Leanne, on the iHeartRadio app and wherever you get your podcasts. As we learned a long time ago, Nick has trouble mastering the English language.
Catherine was famously loyal to her lovers. Okay, she was
Lovers.
loyal to her lovers.
Yeah, apparently. Where the S come in? It's just loyal to my lover.
Right, but she was famously loyal to her lovers, both
Right.
during their relationship and after it even ended.
Oh,
Always parting on good terms, she bestowed them upon titles, land, palaces, and even people. Gifting,
is that what they call it now? Bestowing?
God, bestowed.
I just called it sex, to be very
Okay,
honest.
let's do that again.
Let me
That's
bestow you.
Yeah. Okay, so how could you be loyal to your lovers, plural, right? Like,
No,
okay.
crazy.
But she was,
Right.
both during their relationship and even after it ended.
Oh, so she was even good afterwards. Maybe they come over and bestow her a few times.
Exactly. Can I bestow you again? Yeah, okay, sure. I have 10 minutes.
Although the show is entitled Totally Useless Information, Nick and Roy found someone who gave them very useful information about poop.
So excited that we actually cleaned up the studio so we can talk about poop for the next little bit.
Why did you clean it if we're going to talk about poop?
Well, we have a special guest.
Should have left it just like it was. Our studio looks like a German airplane. It's a Messerschmitt.
Let's welcome to our studio today Ron Bloomer. He has written and produced 80 public television documentaries, 6 books on subjects relating to health and the human body, and we asked him to come on.
Ladies and gentlemen, we give you the big guests. Okay,
Yes.
I mean, you can go on the late night shows and you don't get what you get here.
Yeah, well, I'll
Which is
guess.
a guy that's going to talk about poop.
Well, listen.
You know, when I first heard your show, I said you guys are made for me because I've been writing useless books for 10 years.
Wow, I'm glad it's a match made in a bookstore. So Ron, welcome to Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy.
I want to first say bonjour Montreal because I'm Canadian and I know you're carried on a radio station CJAD.
That's right.
Ron Bloomer, guys, and he's written books called Pea Color, Wiped, and Defecating Gold, and Poop, right? Is the new one?
Defecating gold is the it's the story of poop.
Look, what we try to do is, like, if we have a guest on that's written a book or anything like that, we try not to read the whole book, right? Because we want the author to talk to us about it. So I literally leafed through it. Okay,
Did you enjoy the pictures?
I sure did. So, Ron, first of all, what compelled you to write stuff about the stuff that comes out of our bodies?
Because there's a paucity in the, believe it or not, you think there are books on every subject in the world, but academics don't want to touch these icky subjects.
No, you don't want to touch that subject,
as it were. and
That's why we use paper.
So all you find is joke books, and this actually is an important subject.
Yes,
I'm going to have to break your rule, because I'm going to give your listeners some extremely useful advice.
Okay,
this is important, folks. Listen.
Don't sit down while you're going to the toilet. Squat over it, because the great designer of us all has given us in our colon something called the puborectalis muscle, which is a sort of lasso around the colon, which gives extra insurance against unwanted fecal leakage.
Yes.
But when you sit, this muscle is in action and you have to squeeze a lot. But if you squat, your poop just comes right out. No more constipation.
They sell things to put your feet up on.
That's right, squatty potties, to change your rectal angle.
Right.
So
I tried to get one of those in a store, but I had to use the restroom.
If you squat, you're going to get less hemorrhoids and less painful colon diseases like diverticulosis. So try it once, and you'll never go back to sitting.
You can find Ron Bloomer's books on Amazon. When we come back, what happens when you stare into a mirror for a few minutes? You're listening to Nick and Roy's Bloopers and Best of Totally Useless Information of 2022. Welcome back to Nick and Roy's Bloopers and Best of Totally Useless Information 2022. Remember to check out nickandroy.com for the full library of episodes from the past 7 seasons. Also, check out their birthday messages and, new this year, special anniversary messages. It's the perfect gift for people who have everything. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the most useless of them all? Nick and Roy, of course.
Apparently, after 10 minutes of staring at yourself in the mirror, your brain starts to change things around on your face because of boredom. Okay.
What?
This process of distortion is a way for your brain to cope with boredom. This can explain why some people claim to have seen certain things in the mirror when staring at themselves in the past.
Oh, are you done, Nick?
I'm done. You had me on that one. Oh, boy. Yeah.
One of the most popular segments on the show was news from around the world. Why is it that all crazy news stories came from Florida this year? Wait, isn't that where Roy lives?
Neighbors in Stuart, Florida, upset. They're really upset about a man doing his yard work in the nude. Despite telling neighbors the man is not breaking any laws. People
He wasn't?
No. People live in this neighborhood say their neighbor does yard work around the house naked, and they say that they call the sheriff's office, but the deputies say there's nothing they can do. One resident came out Sunday night to put the trash out, and I look over, and as the person said, and he is bent over, winding up his hose, and I'm like, that's my view of my neighborhood.
Yeah. The guy was winding up his hose, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Concerned neighbors wanted to crack down on this naked truth. The man who lives at the end of their street is a nudist.
He's a nudist.
That's
see?
right. So you see
He falls under the spare the rod law.
I'm going to repeat the last lines there because this was cleverly written. Oh, I wrote this. Concerned neighbors want to crack down on his naked truth. The man who lives at the end of the street is a nudist.
Crack.
Okay. He works on
This is
his
crack.
he works on his car. He does it naked, and everyone has called the police.
Wait, he doesn't just do yard work. He works on his car.
He works on his car too. He works on his car.
Does he do anything like with the muffler pipe?
No, I don't know if he's changing his catalytic converter or not. I'm not quite sure.
That's not all he's changing. I'm going to tell you, this guy. Now, where is this in Florida?
Stewart, Florida. Where is Stewart, Florida?
No,
Anyone near
come
you?
on. There's got to be laws that you cannot do yard work naked. Although, you know, I tell you, I've seen some people do yard work down here in like bikinis.
Yeah, but that's acceptable because you're in a beach town, right?
You're damn right it's acceptable.
Is it according to the law? No, it's according to Roy. So, he works on
I've
his...
investigated every single case
That's right. And he tested the strings. And imagine some of them with G strings.
for hours.
That's right. Roy's a musician, G-string. Okay. This guy works on his car naked, and everyone has called the police, but he's just out there doing his yard work and whatever car work that he needs.
Sure. You need a tune-up, you got to do a tune-up.
And the neighbors just can't bear it. Have some...
Bear it. You
Have
think
s-
the guy would get a pair of overalls or something?
No, underalls. Have some respect for the neighbors' kids. Kids catch the bus here. It's wrong, says one of the neighbors.
Oh, yeah. You can't have that with the kids getting on the bus and this guy's, checking his dipstick.
But when the sheriff's office has been called, the deputies tell them as long as he isn't touching himself inappropriately, there's nothing they can do since he is on
and they've
his
seen
own
it. He's
property.
touching basically the plants in the car. He's not really.
He's not doing anything inappropriate because he's on his own private property. He can do whatever the heck he wants.
He's not playing with his privates on his private property.
That's right, exactly, in a public place.
He's quite the mechanic, I heard.
Boy, he can oil, lube, and filter on in a half hour. I have seen these people actually stand on their front step, buck naked, both of them. Wait a minute. There's more than
there's
one.
two.
And talk to the police officers, sheriff's department, and they told me...
Is this a man and a woman or two
let's see.
men?
We found one person who doesn't have an issue with the neighbor stripped down to, nothing. I don't know. So there are two people then, apparently. And you know what the sheriff... But
this is becoming an epidemic now.
Well, and there's no vaccine for it. So according to the sheriff, they said this is their solution. Just turn your head.
Yeah, but you know what? I tell you, I'm for these people because out of respect for the police during COVID, they wore a mask. This guy that you're talking about is quite the daredevil. Now you think about this. You lean over into an engine, Nick. There's a lot of moving parts. You might not want to lean too far in, if you know what I mean. It might get you, you know?
Now, hold on. There's one person in the neighborhood who does not have an issue with their neighbors being stripped down. I'm not one of those people who have concerns just because it's their way of life and it's on their property, and I know it is legal. They spoke with the man in question off camera, and he said he was not interested in doing an interview because he and his family are private people. If they are private, why are your privates on display? This is what you asked before, right? Isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I would be offended.
That is not private at all. This is very public, one neighbor said. They can't bear it anymore.
Yeah, I mean, this is Florida, so anything goes down here. We're pretty much now the state where anything goes. Think about it. Most of the people are moving from Chicago, New York, and California are coming here. Mm-hmm. So basically, all the lunatics in the United States are moving to Florida.
That's right.
Okay, so it's not going to... that person's from California. They're like... free love and all this stuff. They're running around naked.
Wait a minute. I just realized you're right. They are from California. You know why? Because he was showing his California raisins.
Nick, come to Florida. We're very big into nature down here.
I bet you are.
In this next segment from the sports topic, Nick tried to explain the very complicated betting system when it comes to horse racing.
Win, place, or show in a horse race. What does that mean? Win, place, or show. It's regarding bets. They provide the most simplistic and straightforward betting opportunities in horse racing. So this is going to be easy.
Why is it so confusing then? No. Why doesn't anybody just know it? First, second, third.
So
that would have been the most simplistic,
but
Nick.
You trying to show me something? So when you choose a win bet in a horse race, you're selecting the horse to win the race outright. Come first, no problem. Okay.
Right.
When you choose a place bet, you select a horse to finish in the top 2 positions.
The top 2%. I only want him to finish one,
Right.
but
No,
second.
but see, if you here's the thing though, if you bet to win and your horse doesn't win, you lose the bet. But if you place a place bet and your horse comes
All right,
in
folks, we're
first-
changing the name of the show to the Totally Confusing Information Show.
win, place, or show, and if you want a show bet, you
Yes, what's
select
the
the
show?
horse that needs to finish in the top 3 positions for you to receive a payout. Okay.
Yeah,
It's
so
just
the
like
show.
the old
Show them
app.
which way to go. Showed him how to follow the first 2 people that won.
Yeah, but don't follow too closely behind a horse. So, do you remember the Abbott and Costello bit where they went to the racetrack
Yeah.
and they would place all kind of bets? And
He said,
they're off.
I bet on the first.
I bet on the horse, and then they go, and they're off. The race is over, and you lose.
And he throws his tickets up in the air. I love that one.
Yeah, Abbott and
It's the
Costello.
best.
Go look it up if you don't know what we're talking about.
Nick and Roy are practically the same age. In fact, Roy is 2 months older than Nick. In this segment, they talk about getting old and looking for seniors discounts.
Speak for yourself. A couple of years ago, only one of our drugstore chains. 3, 2.
Nick is speaking in Swede again.
How sweet it is. So yeah, one of our drugstore companies up here, a big chain, they asked me, "Are you 55?" And I said, "No, but I will be in a couple of weeks." And they said, "Well, I'll tell you what, you qualify for the seniors discount." So every Thursday, I drag my sorry butt over to this drugstore chain, and I get 20% off, even the stuff I don't even need.
Yeah, we're seniors. Can you imagine that? Nick?
Yeah. By the way, when you go for diapers, Pampers is not what they're talking about.
No, exactly.
Now,
But the savings, Nick, the savings.
20%. Are you kidding? 20% off. At this point, I'll take 10% off.
Yeah.
Now,
And don't take 20% off because then they leak.
he speaks from experience.
When we come back, Nick can't speak English. King Charles III travels with his own teddy bear, and something about silver pinballs getting yanked. You're listening to Nick and Roy's Bloopers and Best of Totally Useless Information 2022. Welcome back to Nick and Roy's Bloopers and Best of Totally Useless Information of 2022. One of the guests that Nick and Roy welcomed this past year was world-renowned Australian-Italian comedian Joe Avati. He shared some of the most interesting Italian traditions.
Joe Avati, welcome to Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. Do you want to hear some totally useless information?
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
I used to be a food scientist for an ice cream company, and if you see a blue color in ice cream, it is not natural. You cannot get a natural blue color in artificial color. So any blue color that you see in any children's product or any product is artificial. It's not natural. There's some totally useless information.
Thank you.
Oh, that's a good one, actually.
Yeah, right off the bat. Boy, so we're talking about customs and traditions. He threw us like useless food information. This is how talented. That's why he's as popular as he is.
That's a really tough job, too, to be the ice cream taster.
Yeah, well, I was the ice cream maker and the ice cream taster.
Well, you know what? I can come up with blue cheese flavored ice cream. Then you have blue and ice cream. See, we can make it work.
Yeah, that's pretty smart, Nick. I like that one. In fact, you know what? Once I was in Spain and I ate a blue cheesecake. It was the best cake I've ever eaten in my life. So it's like a cheesecake, but then the flavor starts to change, and you go, "This is blue cheese." Wow, it was sensational. Anyway,
wait, are you sure it was blue cheesecake, or maybe it was cake that's been sitting out for too long and became blue cheesecake?
Well, here's something interesting. Here's something interesting for your listeners. How do you know when blue cheese goes off? How?
Yeah,
I don't eat it. I don't eat it.
It's got mold already on it. You buy it with mold. So how do you know?
Well, the same way they put expiry dates on sour cream. Why?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sour to begin with.
Well, it's when you see furry mold. When you see furry mold on the mold, that's when you know it's gone off.
Well, that's the best part.
Yeah. We've eaten a furry mold because we needed it for the penicillin for obvious reasons.
You know, but I used to do a bilingual show. Now it's all in English for everybody to come and understand. And I do a lot of generational humor. So, I take the piss out of millennials and Gen Y, and I compare my life to their life. And, and then, so I'm kind of the middle ground, so I compare my upbringing with the young kids and then my upbringing compared to my parents, because our parents give our children things that they never gave us, Nick, little things like love and affection.
Oh.
And
Joe, you don't have to blame like grandparents. You could speak directly to Nick. He's old enough.
No.
Yeah.
Well, you're right, because I think you mentioned that, I've never ever heard any of my parents or grandparents say, I love you.
Really?
No, they showed it, but they never said it. Like, they didn't sit there and just sat me down and said, you know what, I love you.
It's like German grandparents. They just tell you to march.
Never. And now my dad said to my daughter, I miss you. The only time my dad ever said I miss you is when he went to whack me and I ducked. Right? That's the only time I ever got a miss you.
Give us some interesting or useless customs that you can share with our audience.
Well, for the Italians, they're very superstitious people. We have a thing called the evil eye, the malocchio. It's now, Roy. I don't know. Are you Italian, Roy? I'm not sure.
Oh yeah, I know what the malocchio is. I got the horn.
Yeah, right.
The horn is hanging from my
your
car.
listeners who don't know what malocchio is, it's basically when one Italian puts a spell on another Italian, right? And how do you know when you've got the malocchio? Well, basically you start shivering, you get a cold, you get a runny nose, you get a sore throat. Basically, you get COVID, right? So, guys, for the last 2 years, the whole world has had malocchio, believe it or not.
Yeah, that's what it is. You know how you stay away from malocchio? You take the garlic and you throw it behind the oven.
That's why Italians have chili peppers hanging off the rear vision mirror, because apparently the evil spirits don't like spicy food.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Joe Avati is planning on returning to North America for a tour in 2023. I'm sure that Nick and Roy will have more details for you in upcoming shows. In this next highlight, Nick demonstrated to us how he can pronounce things properly. Not...
If you're a vegan, if you're a vegan or a vegetarian or just a lover of animals, do not buy a Bentley. Is it Mulsanne? How's it pronounced? Mulsanne? Mulsanne?
Yes.
Okay. Don't buy a Bentley, which is so full of leather, it needs 14 cows to make it.
What did you pronounce it as?
Mulsanne.
Mulsanne?
Mulsanne.
Mulsanne.
We'll see. We'll just say Bentley. Don't. If you are a love, I'll do it again. If you're a vegan, if you're a vegan or a vegetarian or just a lover of animals, do not buy a Bentley.
Nick and Roy often reminisced about their time working at the Astor, Roy's dad's restaurant. They talked about the pinball machine that basically yanked your silver pinball.
Yes.
Pinball.
Remember the Gator game? It would grab the ball and yank it in?
Yeah, I love that. That was great. I love when things get yanked in the balls. Pinball, in its modern form.
You like your balls yanked, Dick.
That's right. And they're silver. Go figure. They're shiny.
That's English, by the way. That's English.
That's English. That's right. Not Swedish.
In this piece of audio, Nick gets tongue-tied once again.
I make sure that I subscribed on my favorite podcast platform. I make sure that I subscribed on my 3, 2.
Wait, are we being too harsh on Nick? Maybe this next segment will help explain his ability to, concentrate.
That would not hit his 3, 2. Going back to the very first topic, I went to the loo. Where was I going with that? See, I lost my train of thought, because that's what happens when you reach a certain age. Hold on. I had a joke in there somewhere.
Recording totally useless information requires total silence and totally no distractions. Sometimes that's not possible.
In a bushu. Oh.
I told him never to call me.
Is everyone here? Remember that in the bar? Who's not here? Every time the phone rang at the bar, who's not
They'd
here?
Say, is Roy there? And they go, I don't know. Is Roy here?
No, I'm not. No, he's not.
One last segment for this year. It's a story about a king and his little teddy bear.
King Charles III, the newly crowned King Charles III, does not travel without his teddy bear or his toilet seat. A former valet for King Charles shared that the royal travels with his teddy bear and needs to be tucked into his bed even as an adult.
Oh no!
Okay. He always travels with a trusted companion and a throne.
I knew something was wrong with him.
And a throne that's fit for the king. The king is known to have an outrageous list of demands, you think? But it was recently revealed that King Charles III also doesn't like square ice cubes.
Oh my God.
And he does travel with his childhood teddy bear. Christopher Anderson, the author of The King, The Life of Charles III, said that the beloved bear...
I knew his cousin, Hans Christian.
Right, another great storyteller. He said that the beloved bear has been by Charles's side since he was a very small child. It was even guarded by one of Charles' most trusted valets, Michael Fawcett, who was in charge of caring for the beloved bear well into the king's adulthood. So whenever the toy needed mending, a designated nanny made the necessary repairs.
Oh my God.
The only person who's allowed to mend King Charles' teddy bear is his childhood nanny, Mabel Anderson.
We want to thank you for listening to Totally Useless Information with Nick and Roy. They will be back next week after they've scoured the internet and other sources to gather totally useless information just for you. Please visit nickandroy.com to find out more about their special birthday messages and now anniversary messages. Send your loved one a unique gift. Visit nickandroy.com for more information. Thanks for listening.